Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to Cilinix Crypto. Hope you're all doing great, and welcome to this new video right here, where I wanted to do a brief preparation for next week. I have a little bit of a sad announcement. I will be gone again for the next week and a half. My apologies. I know it's a little bit bad timing because I've been back for a week now, and I've done quite a lot of work, made a lot of videos, and also sent some signals and did quite a lot of work regarding the Signal group, etc. But I will be gone for another week and a half. I have videos lined up, all right? For every single day, there's an amazing video, an amazingly valuable video coming out. So make sure that you know, if you're interested in those types of videos, they're a little bit more long term, you'll check those out. And I'm also still doing the Signal group full time, all right? I'm still analyzing. I'm still trading, so that is something that will continue if you are in the Signal group or if you're considering to join. And we've had an amazing July and August in terms of profitability, so I would definitely recommend you to check that out if you don't want to miss out on some amazing profits that are still left to come, hopefully. But that's a little bit of announcement on that. For now, let's get right into the analysis. So a couple of things for next week. I mean, it's going to be crucial to keep your eyes on the fundamentals. It's bound to be a week where we're going to get a lot of headlines, we're going to get a lot of news, so be aware of that. The main thing to watch, if you don't want to watch the news all the time, which I understand, is just looking at the S&P 500, right? So basically the S&P 500 futures is the best place to look at. Because this is just always open. The futures are always open. The S&P 500 is not. It's only open during the United States session. And then you also have the volatility index, which is basically an unrest indicator. This is something to watch as well. You want this to be bearish, which it has been. If this sees some sort of a big bounce, then that's bearish for the crypto market, right? So if this is bullish, it's bearish for crypto. If this is bearish, it's bullish for crypto, like we've also seen in the last week. So be aware of that. Also be aware of the news that we have Tuesday, all right? We have some other economic data coming out as well throughout the week, but Tuesday is by far most important. Then we have inflation rate and CPI data coming out, which is basically the same, but okay. We want this to be lower than expected. If it's higher than expected, that could turn all of this bullish momentum that we're seeing right now around. All right, so be aware of that, because right now the expectation is that we're going to get 3 rate cuts in 2025. If the inflation rate all of a sudden, like right now, it's expected that it's going from 2.7 to 2.8. If all of a sudden it's 3%, that's bad news, all right? And that could severely change the direction of the markets. Be aware of that. And I still think, you know, talking about the market right now, we'll talk about Bitcoin, we'll talk about Ethereum, we'll talk about XRP. I still think going into that and potentially afterwards, we will see a pullback, all right, which is what I've said this morning. And I still believe that. Now, I think Bitcoin itself has stabilized, all right? Bitcoin has broken above the point of control of this range right here. Bitcoin is showing a lot of strength right now, and I expect Bitcoin to remain relatively stable. All right, now relatively stable does not mean that we will continue to be bullish, but I do think that, you know, when we see a pullback from Bitcoin, that the Bitcoin dominance bouncing and finding strong support here is going to allow Bitcoin to stay at least within this range on top of 115.5. And given the current fundamentals, because the current fundamentals are great, I would say it's most likely will stay up higher and that we will actually get a continuation up to that level at 119 and 120,000. So I'm actually very optimistic and, you know, at least positive about Bitcoin. About the rest of the markets, I still think, and maybe I'm a little bit stubborn about this, but I still think it's best to assume that we're going to get a pullback. I 100% agree with you if you say, well, last week was so bullish and we got a lot of great news and the fundamentals are great. I agree, all right? However, when I take a look at the 2 main coins to look at right now, XRP is still relatively flat. XRP is slowly pulling into that main support level between 3.15 and 3.1. Potentially with a spike down to $3.05. I've said that for the last couple of days. That's still correct. That's going on right now. So far, my predictions have been correct. And I see no reason to change my predictions on that. So I also don't see a lot of reasons to talk about this much longer. But when I take a look at Ethereum, on the higher time frames, with all the imbalances to the upside and some of the bearish divergences we're seeing on the lower time frames, if I take a look at that, and if I take a look at others, aka the altcoin market cap, with all those imbalances and some bearish divergences on the lower time frames, same thing. I think it's more likely, especially in light of the fundamentals, that we're going to see some sort of a market-wide pullback on risky assets, aka altcoins, before we find support and before we get a continuation of higher. Could I be wrong? Yes. But given what I expect for next week in terms of fundamentals and what I've seen right now from the price action this weekend, which was good, but with low volume, with low conviction, I think this is most likely, and this is what I'm positioning for. Although, in full transparency, I already have some major positions open, all right? So it's not that I don't have any exposure. For example, I have quite a lot of Ethereum naming service, ENS, and I am holding this, all right? So even though I think a pullback is more likely, that doesn't mean that I'm not buying anything. I have already bought. I have bought lower. All right. So yeah, those are my thoughts on altcoins, Ethereum, Bitcoin. Some specific altcoins right now to talk about. I still think Aptos is great from this support level we have between around $4.5. Let's keep it simple. Ethereum Beta by far is the strongest category, so that's definitely something to keep your eyes on. So my personal favorites at this point of time are Ethereum naming service. I think Compound is still going to do amazing. I think Lido DAO has amazing momentum, although this is nearing a major resistance level, so be aware of that. Might be a little bit risky. I think Chainlink has amazing momentum, but all of these, like I said, because I expect a pullback, I think the best entry is with a pullback instead of buying the top right here, especially going into a Monday and going into inflation rate and CPI data. But those are my thoughts. That's my preparation for you for next week. I will be back with pre-made videos, like I said. I'm still going to be active in Telegram and Discord, so make sure to tag me in there if you want to reach me. You can still join the Signal group, etc. So make sure to check out the links down in the description for that. But that's it for now. Thank you for watching. Take care and bye.